The project today will be to rest the jaws of this chuck. When I grip a round piece very lightly, I can rattle it, which means that the jaws are making contact in the back and not out here on the front. So the object today will be to set up a grinder with a loading ring that will go in the jaws, put some force on them as though you were clamping down, take up any slack in the jaw system, and then we can proceed to grind. So I want to get rid of this. So to do that, I have made a simple grinding ring loading unit out of a piece of scrap pipe, put 3 pins in it, and these pins will go in the jaws of the chuck. And these are 2-piece jaws, so that I can get it in the top. Now, when I tighten down on it, that will apply a load out, tip the jaws up, take the slack out, as though we're gripped down on a piece. Don't need to be real tight, just enough to get the play out of it. Now we're ready to set up the grinder. First, I'll dig up a good piece of towel to keep the grit off of the lathe, knowing that I'm going to get a lot of grit in the chuck, but I can clean that out later. I have a grinding rig made up with a small pneumatic motor, die grinder. The grinding fixture was originally made for a larger electric hand grinder, but it's got too much slop in the bearings and doesn't work very well. So this is a cheap pneumatic grinder. I'm going to set it so that as I grind, I can come out to advance into the work. I'll set my dial to 0, so in case I have to move. This is where the shutdown to check progress and let our air compressor recover. And as you can see, this jaw is pretty well cleaning up all the way. Now we'll rotate it to the next jaw, and it's in pretty good shape. Now, the third jaw, I know you're getting now, is kind of a hit and miss, and it's still a little bit of a laggard. I could have probably zeroed the chuck a little closer on the start, which would have helped, but we're only talking just a very few thousandths here. So we're going to put a mark on it and see what it does with an ink pen. Okay. After many minutes of slow, painful grinding in about 1.5 thousandths total steps, I finally have that one wayward jaw when I find it here. It's got a couple of little damaged places in it that didn't clean up, but otherwise now all the jaws have cleaned up real well. I'm going to make one more pass down and back for a spark out, and we'll see what it does and call it a day. As you can see, getting fairly uniform sparking, which we're hitting all three jaws equally. I'm going to go down to the end and then back out on a speed out and call it quits. Now we're coming back out, and I'm going to be at the final pass. As you can see, the reflection on the jaws show that we're getting a pretty good uniform pattern on all of them. So that means we're getting some uniformity. So now I'm going to remove the loading fixture, put it away for another 10 years. And wipe some of the stuff out. I'm going to have to take the chuck apart later and clean it out. But I have one jaw on this chuck. Well, there's two that are slightly loose. And that has been that way from day one. Now we'll put that piece of bar stock we had in there a while ago and see what it feels like when I tighten down on it loosely. No rattle. So we're making real good contact the length of it now. And that we were not doing before. So now we have a chuck. Should be as good as the jaws are good. I did grind deep enough to take a little bit off of the master part of the jaw back in there. And before this, the jaws usually stick up above that just a little bit. And then the back part doesn't make contact. Well, this has been ground one or two times before, and I've lost count over 30 years, so I couldn't tell you how many. So now I can put away the cheap grinding wheel. If you want to do this seriously, you need a good tool post grinder with some rigidity. But this makeshift operation works.